Hello, today we're going to show you how to replace a fitting on the end of a piece of brake line. When you get these at the store, sometimes they come with the wrong size fitting. In this case it's a 1/4 inch brake line, but on a Chevy truck they use a slightly larger fitting. They actually use two different size fittings on each end of the brake line. One for the ABS box and the other one for the wheel area. So we're going to take this fitting off, put this fitting on. We're going to do it with this tool. It's a Napa service kit. You can do it with another flaring tool, but this is an Inline flaring tool kit from Napa. This is also handy if you're doing it under the vehicle because you can get in tight spaces. These are the components that you'll need to do it. The first step that we need to do is to remove this fitting. So in order to remove this fitting, we are going to take our tubing cutter like this, and we're going to come back about this far because I've measured it and we need to take about 6 inches off of this brake line to make it fit. So I'm going to use my assistant. I'm going to let him. So what you need to do is open this up. You need to put it around your brake line just like that so it fits in the groove. Tighten this down. There you go. Tighten it. Now, every time we tighten it, we're going to rotate it. Turn it. Turn it. We're going to continue going around the pipe. Every time we go around the pipe 2 or 3 times, we'll tighten the cutter up just a little bit. Okay, stop. And you'll see it'll just come off with a nice clean cut. Next thing you want to do after you have the nice clean cut is take a reamer out of your tool to clean out the inside edge. So you take the reamer, you just push it in there and twist it to clean out the inside. My assistant's going to try this also.
Assistant.
Put the reamer in there and twist it. Push in there, push it in hard. Twist it back and forth.
Like that.
Okay. That'll smooth out the inside of that.
The reamer.
Next thing we need to do is take a file or some sandpaper and just file the outside to get the little burrs off the outside edge. The next thing we're going to do is take our fitting. We have to get the correct fitting that goes on the line. Have to make sure that we put it on this direction so that the threads are facing outwards. Now we're going to get our brake line clamp and we're going to put it over just like that. Then we'll select the 1/4 inch flaring piece. And this piece has 2 tiers on it. We want to make sure that we line up the clamp part with this so it's exactly the same size. You use this little part, this little ridge as a gauge to tell you how much of the brake line should stick out from the clamp. Once you have that measurement done, you want to double check it around the sides to make sure you're at the right spot. If you're not at the right spot, you can slide this in or out. Just like that. After you're done, you want to tighten these up first by hand. Then you want to use an Allen wrench. I'm using a T-handle Allen wrench. And you want to tighten these down back and forth evenly. Is take this part of the tool that's actually the flaring screw. Inside of there it has a cone shape. This cone shape will fit right inside of there. This is a double flare we're going to make on this line, so it takes 2 steps. First thing you want to do is take your first flaring step and put the 1/4 inch inside of there, put your flaring tool in here and screw it on only by hand. Make sure you screw it all the way on by hand. You'll make it snug, but do it by hand. Then tighten this in by hand once again. Once you get resistance by hand, you're going to use open end wrench to hold this part, which is a 7/8 in this case. And here's a 9/16 ratchet. I'll put on here. Then we simply tighten it in with the ratchet. You want to tighten it until it's really tight. Now tighten it very snug. I'm going to back it off a little bit again with the ratchet. After I back it off, my assistant's going to unscrew this. Then you want to take your fitting out. Sometimes the fitting sticks in here a little bit. When you compress it, it puts it in there a little bit. Then it should look like this. Now you can see the first bend. It's molded around the inside of that form. Now what you want to do is to make your second fitting so that it looks like this when you're finished. You've made one bend, now you have to make the second bend. So you take this piece out, the first inner mold piece, and then you want to make your bell-shaped fitting. So you put this back on without the piece inside. Tighten this up. With this inline brake fitting toolkit that I have, you can do it very easily under the truck. If you are next to the firewall or in a tight spot, you can also use it, whereas a typical conventional flaring kit with the wing nuts are very difficult to use in tight spaces. This one will fit right up against a frame or something like that if you're doing this in a tight spot. Unscrew that, please. Okay, now we should have a double flare. Should look just like this one. Okay, now that you've clamped this down, sometimes this wants to stick on there. So sometimes you just give it a little bit of a jolt. It'll come back off. That's what you're left with. You have a perfect flared end, just like the one that came from the factory. Except now we have our other end that will actually fit on a Chevy truck.